We can see you now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Very warm greetings and welcome from Mykolas Romeris University in Lithuania, the Baltic states, the neighboring country from Poland. And first of all, I would like to thank the Magna Charta Observatory for initiating, leading, and implementing this research project, Responsive and Responsible University, which is very meaningful and relevant to our times. Also, I would like to thank the colleagues at the American International University, Bangladesh, for reaching out to us back in 2023 and encouraging us to participate in this project, and now organizing the International Symposium. Let me briefly tell you about our university. We are Social Sciences and Humanities University, established in the 1990s, just when Lithuania restored its independence from the Soviet Union. And this year we celebrate our 35th anniversary. We are a state-owned university, but having an international-minded community. And we have currently campus in 3 major Lithuanian cities. We enroll over 6,500 students and employ about 800 academic and administrative staff. And the university is structured within 5 academic units: Law School, Public Security Academy, Faculty of Public Governance and Business, Faculty of Human and Social Studies, and the Sudovian Academy. Following several years of thought and strategic meetings with different university stakeholders, we have defined our identity, and we define ourselves as dynamic, international, technological, advanced, and sustainable university for an individual, society, and the state. And the Magna Charta Observatory value system was overwhelmingly endorsed by universities' governing bodies, which include student and academic staff members. The university, which together with other institutions signed the Magna Charta Observatory guidelines for university activities, and is driven by the values of academic freedom, institutional autonomy, and responsibility to state. Pre-COVID, pre-war, some 10 years ago, organizational culture was hierarchical and administrative-centric, with dominating top-down decision-making process, bureaucratic structures, and emphasis on formal procedures. It was actually a traditional academic culture with a focus on classical education and research. Well-worded documents missed the spirit of a community and togetherness among students, faculty, and administration. The institution was stable and rather slow to change, like risk-averse attitudes. Unconventional behaviors of the organization were not favored. The organizational culture was also marked by fragmented cross-departmental collaboration and limited communication across different organizational levels. The concept of a university as a living laboratory or learning organization approaches were favored in papers, but not widely spread in practice some 10 years ago. But the last 10 years, COVID-19, and especially war in Ukraine, made MRU organizational culture to evolve, change, transform, strengthening support to individual person, on academic community, as well as on national and international collaborations. Now, let me briefly tell you about our input to the project. The research aims to present the theoretical concept of the responsive and responsible university and illustrate it with the case of Mykolas Romeris University and how we support people affected by Russia's war in Ukraine. Based on our documented efforts, experience, and expertise, we aim to give a framework and examples for other universities that may face a similar situation around the world. Also, another objective was to examine the concept of a responsive and responsible university in relation to research-based literature and how it corresponds to our practical activities, and to open up a broad academic discussion focusing on how higher education institutions can serve as societal change agents in times of crisis, in addition to their traditional missions of education and research. And also analyze the university's third mission concept through the lens of community reflection and lessons learned after the launch of the war in Ukraine, and provide insights for other organizations. And the structure of the project is, I will present the overall context of Lithuania and how it dealt with the war migrants and war crisis in Ukraine. What actions have we taken? And now we have like 3 years of reflection. How do we view the situation currently? What lessons we have learned, and conclusions. Russia's full-scale invasion in Ukraine in February 22 resulted in a humanitarian crisis. According to the data of United Nations, millions of people were displaced seeking asylum in Europe and other parts of the world. According to the United Nations Regional High Commissioner for Refugees, over 6 million Ukrainian refugees have been registered across Europe. 500,000 exiled outside Europe, and nearly 4 million were displaced within Ukraine. In Lithuania, the population of Lithuania is less than 3 million people. We are really small, tiny country. And according to the data from the Lithuanian government official statistics, Lithuania registered almost 100,000 war refugees. And the numbers are changing. Like yesterday, for example, nearly 30 people entered the country and asked for refugee. They are from different professions, ages, gender, though primarily are women, small children and teenagers, as men are not allowed to leave the country. And high proportion of 18, 64-year-old people refers to like working age population, adults who are in their years of employment, education, and skill development. Lithuania for centuries have been closely linked to Poland, closely linked to Ukraine, and quickly became a popular destination for refugees fleeing the war. And majority of refugees needed immediate housing, food, clothing. They just left their homes as they stand, and within a couple of days, women, small children, teenagers, the elderly people just appeared at our doorstep. And the Lithuanian government, universities, the society was preparing to accept refugees from the very beginning, from the first day of the war. And we as a university were also preparing, like we thought that maybe we'll need to accommodate people. We have some, as all universities, we have infrastructure. Maybe we can provide food, clothing. We are preparing, and within a couple of weeks, the first refugees arrived. And our university was the first who welcomed the refugees. The school director of the school, principal of the school, put the kids on the bus and arrived from Kharkiv, and our university provided shelter to those refugees. We also started collecting humanitarian aid for refugees, and it included like different medical equipment, medicine, food, clothing. We also started to employ Ukrainian researchers, enroll students, welcomed this refugee school from Kharkiv, and the number of the pupils accumulated on an hourly basis. from 30 pupils it accumulated to 500 pupils within a short period of time. And we also disseminated the information, shared, advocated for Ukrainian universities, mobilizing our national and international partners. Later, during those 3 years, we activated lawyers and fundraised for them to bring to Lithuania for medical treatment the kids who were injured by war. We also initiated different activities how to support teachers that work with migrant children and teachers and teenagers. And we also, during the last years, we helped them to learn the Lithuanian language, which is different from the Slavic languages, and it is one of the oldest spoken Indo-European languages, and the sound system is similar to Old Sanskrit. So first of all, we just disseminated information to Ukrainian universities that welcoming students and professors, researchers, that we can provide a safe shelter and academic opportunity for them at Mykolas Romeris University. We also understood, as Agata said, that we cannot take the intellectual capital from Ukraine, just provide a temporary position for them to study and to carry out research. So our first refugees were accommodated in our student dormitory. We just emptied some space, asked our students to move from like 3-room apartment from 2-room apartment, for example, or to 3, and to open up some space. And the refugees were accommodated in the student housing. And we collected the humanitarian aid, like school appliances. When Russia started to bomb energy facilities, we started producing like trench candles for people, for soldiers, so that people could dry their clothing, to warm tea a little bit and survive the cold season. And actually, the community responded wholeheartedly and donated many things that our refugees didn't need. So we just donated a minivan to Ukraine and transported the humanitarian aid to the villages, to the orphanages, to the people living in Ukraine, and also shared our resources, humanitarian aid, with other organizations that also welcomed refugees in Lithuania. And this year, just maybe a couple of weeks ago, we donated 200 blankets to Ukrainian soldiers. The winter is coming, and people are like living and sleeping in trenches. And we just had some woolen blankets, and we decided to send them to Ukraine. Also, I mentioned about the school. The numbers have accumulated on a daily basis, like 500 pupils of different ages just appeared at our university. And we just opened our doors, and there were teachers from Ukraine, social workers, psychologists, and the school was formed. And the school, initially it was the school for all ages, but currently only the oldest kids study in our university premises in Vilnius. And currently about 200 pupils of grades 8 to 11 study at our university. And these are the pictures from September 1st, from Christmas last year. So the kids, we just opened some classrooms to them. They study in Ukrainian, also study Lithuanian language, English language, engage in different discussions, sports, activities. The last picture presents the graduation ceremony. Those kids are from different parts of Ukraine. And it is the 4th graduation ceremony at our university. And when I think that all those kids could have been killed and injured, but we could provide them a safe and secure place to study, to learn, to continue their education, and to have this like secure environment in Lithuania. So we are very proud of what he did, and we are very proud of what other neighboring countries like Poland and other countries of European have done to support Ukrainian war refugees. Also, as I mentioned, we mobilized our international partners. We approached by European Women Directors Association, and together with other organizations, we carried out the survey. What do Ukrainian universities need? What challenges they face, and how can we in Europe can help them? And also, we disseminated a letter to Ukrainian academic community, to our international partners, welcoming them to continue their education or research at our university. And actually, we didn't have any finances. We needed to finance, to apply for projects, and to provide them salaries to continue their research and teaching positions. Also, I have mentioned about our lawyers initiative, lawyers and other goodwill people who just collected funds to bring kids injured in Ukraine to Lithuania for medical treatment. And actually, it was initiative for those who cannot protect themselves, for the orphans, for small children. Also, we have initiated a project meant you well, which means that together with partners from Austria, Italy, Romania, Ukraine, Finland, we initiated the project how to help teachers working with refugees, how to prepare them to deal with psychological problems they might have, linguistic problems they might have, and learn from the countries that have like 10 years experience in welcoming refugees like Finland, Austria, or Italy, and the countries that don't have such a long history of refugee enrollment like Romania, Lithuania, and Ukraine and Poland, how to help the teachers, how to empower them to work with the migrant kids. And most recently, as the war is still continue to go, and for us an issue is like the linguistic of aspect of our community, because as Agata mentioned, the integration of Ukrainians and other refugees is not only about like sending country, but also about host country. And in the countries like who have like a former experience in refugee integration, like Poland or Austria or Finland, when refugees enter the country, they have to learn the language, and then they can go to education or labor market. But Lithuania behaved differently. We just switched to Russian, which we knew from the Soviet times and which we forgotten, and we were not trying to learn it as much when for example, we were in school, but we somehow switched to Russian because Ukrainians couldn't speak English or any other language. And we try to use different apps, how to communicate with them, try to use Russian somehow to communicate with Ukrainian people. But now we see that Ukrainian people don't have equal opportunities as Lithuanians to engage in different labor market to find a job. And there is an issue of like equal opportunities. And the war, there is no visible end of the war. So probably those people would stay in Lithuania and need to learn language. Also, I need to mention that the Russian-speaking community is increasing in Lithuania, like some refugees from Belarus, from Russian opposition have settled in Lithuania, and like Russian language has become like a dominant, not dominant, but like many people are speaking Russian now in Lithuanian cities, which was not the case 10 years ago. So for us, it's like a matter of our national security and our protection of our unique language. In 2024 April, we carried out a survey on Lithuanian on how our community responded to the crisis. What were the motives? Would they behave the same way currently? And over 100 students and 200 academic staff members responded. And the questionnaire was designed to learn about the strategic behavior of the entire academic community and how do they contribute to Ukrainian support efforts, what were their perceptions in the context of 2 years war in Ukraine. And in terms of support, 38% of student respondents donated funds and provided humanitarian aid, volunteered, helped to settle the refugees in Lithuania. And financial contributions were the most popular source of support among employees, followed by humanitarian aid and volunteering. And student major motivations for helping Ukrainians were considered as a moral obligation, justice and human rights, whereas employees prioritized caring for the war victims and providing care. Security concerns, particularly preventing a war in Lithuania, were also raised. And the student major motivation for helping Ukrainians were considered as moral obligation. And as the war in Ukraine progressed, majority of employees and students said that their attitudes about refugees remain unchanged. And furthermore, that nearly a quarter of students and employees reported that they now better understand and have better empathy for Ukrainian refugees or refugees in general. We also asked our employees and students what impact Ukrainian refugees have on study and work process at Mykolas Romeris University. And majority of students and our academic and administrative staff have reported that the presence of Ukrainian refugees on MRU campus have no discernible impact on their studies or work environment. And they suggest that Ukrainian students contribute to campus diversity and the support should be continued. That university has to continue to share its facilities, its educational research capacities with the Ukrainian refugee school, which has become one of the most popular schools for Ukrainians in Lithuania. And when asked about the most common method of future support, the most popular response was to donate to charities and funds, and as well as cooperation with other university peers and volunteering with other universities in Ukraine. And nearly half of students and employees mentioned that language and cultural orientation classes were the most effective strategy for university and our society to help refugees to integrate. That we have to teach them our language, to teach them English, so that they can either stay in Lithuania or move to other countries or come back to Ukraine, because the war will be over one day and there will be a need for people with education to restore the country. Our community also suggested initiatives to help Ukrainians to find jobs, internships, and mentoring programs. And the process is not over yet, as we know, so the situation is developing, but not as drastically as in the beginning of the war. So what we have learned during those 3 years, what are the outcomes, the impacts of all this process? Our university and local community people who worked hand in hand, donated and supported according to their talents and gifts, have discovered their own giving power and volunteering potential via their efforts to assist others. Ukrainian people were welcomed to Lithuania. Now adults found works, children attend daycare centers or schools, and they got medical, social, and mental well-being services. Ukrainian high school students living in Lithuania now have a safe space to study and learn according to Ukrainian and Lithuanian educational curricula that use post-trauma approach. The quality of life, well-being, the experience of living in a foreign country have improved. Also, Lithuanian government institutions, business, NGOs, our university and local community people were united, came together, co-created and mobilized their all efforts to donate, provide humanitarian aid and support to Ukrainian war-affected people. The co-living and co-studying of university students and Ukrainian high school students has improved. So we are living together. There are like age differences, cultural differences, but we try to somehow live together and study together. And actually, by doing so, we have improved the Lithuanian educational policy and practice. We became more sensitive, more understanding others. The public understanding of what each person can do has grown. That actually we have developed our self identity and understanding that we can do more than we can think, which was also the organizational logo of our university for several years. And we have also learned that university can demonstrate how can we actively implement the third mission in the face of crisis. But actually, 4 years of war have exhausted Ukrainians, have exhausted Europeans, and have exhausted all our university community. War in Ukraine has become like a daily occurrence. Though people are being killed, tortured, families separated, children and teenagers living in constant fear and uncertainty. They constantly check their mobile cell phones and check which cities are bombed. Are they like fathers, relatives, friends? Are they in safe environment? And actually, Ukrainians living on our university campus and attending refugee school also experience psychological problems as a result of their experience in Ukraine and what is going on in Ukraine now. Despite the fact that integration into Lithuanian society was much easier due to our shared historical background, linguistic and cultural similarities. Despite this fatigue, tiredness, and uncertainty about the geopolitical situation, the university has discovered that civil society, individuals, and communities fully support and engage into meaningful causes, and are prepared to donate and assist crisis-affected people from all their hearts. The university community has also realized the benefits of co-living. We have increased our intercultural knowledge, understanding, and the relations and collaborative efforts between national and international partners to support those in need were strengthened. Now we have much stronger relations with like city municipality, national authorities, NGOs, working with socially affected people. But during this fatigue and tiredness stage, we need to think strategically and have like long-term planning. What society do we want to have in the future and how to put different actions to implement that. And it has become like a new normal for our society, Ukrainians living in Lithuania, and have become like a part of us. And we need to think how to also, as Agata mentioned, to integrate them in our society, and also how it affects us. Our society has recognized that the conflict and the country's recovery may be a long-term process, that refugees may remain in Lithuania, and how do we educate them? What skills and capacities do we teach them? It will be the future of our societies. They may be like good ambassadors of Lithuania, and may keep good relations with Lithuania when they come back to Ukraine, or now it's in our hands what kind of future society we develop. We also reflected on the importance of language in crafting narratives and safeguarding Lithuanian national identity and security. And as I mentioned, the subject of conserving national language and culture, as opposed to widely spread like Russian and Ukrainian, brought by Ukrainians war refugees in Lithuania. It's also a method like how to ensure our national identity and security, and currently those discussions are taking place in our society. Our university also work with policymakers on the national, on municipal level, how to develop long-term refugee integration policies, how to support and equip the next generation with skills they need to face future possible geopolitical crisis. And through these comprehensive efforts, we have established a paradigm for higher education institutions to act decisively and effectively in times of different disasters, and revealing that universities need distributed or shared leadership to develop compassion, and like third mission of assisting those in need. What lessons we have learned, what has worked well and effectively, what has not worked very well or effectively. First, shared leadership and community participation, which included MRU local students, academic and administrative staff, state agencies, corporations, NGOs, civil society, and local community members, were extremely effective. Our university actually worked as a catalyst, connecting different society groups and directing them towards meeting the basic human needs that war-affected people face. The war situation, shared leadership, and communication sparked empathy, caring for and helping crisis-affected people, and advanced philanthropic ideas about our community, among our community members. We also have learned that resource sharing, donations, both on the individual and institutional level, made individuals realize how big impact of societal improvement they might have. Sharing the campus with the Ukrainian war refugees has made university more open, empathetic, sensitive to the needs of community, and particularly Ukrainian war refugees who live or study in Lithuania and just across the street from our campus. With regard to the notion of entrepreneurial university, our university has made a deliberative and strategic efforts to reconcile the tension between like serving society and generating income. Our university mission was embedded into its educational and research programs, ensuring reinforcement of societal values and impact. And our focus on social innovation, sustainability, social justice, as well as lifelong learning helped to leverage societal impact and finding support for in crisis situation. As I have mentioned, our university fundraised to support Ukrainian war refugees from like national, international education and research funding agencies, and also from individual people to provide immediate humanitarian support. Also, we advocated for joint research project with Ukrainian universities or involving Ukrainian universities into consortiums, partnerships, not only helped us to attract international and national funding, but also provide financial viability incentives to our university and universities in Ukraine, because majority of the state funding goes to military, and the university academia is left somewhere behind. So we view it as our mission to help Ukrainian universities and individual people to provide for living. And our strategic internationalization and discussion in our documents and implemented before the war crisis helped the university to join more meaningfully international consortiums, as well as include Ukrainian universities into them, and get resources for meaningful societal causes. Also, as I mentioned, we had some like bureaucratic inflexibilities, as for instance, HR practices of employing foreigners. Those practices were minimized, simplified due to overarching national support to Ukraine and our institutional efforts, how to ensure like equal rights, equal opportunities for Ukrainians as well as our national researchers and students. And what hasn't worked so well or effectively? Ensuring continuous community engagement and empathy to the Ukrainian war-affected people have become difficult. Initially, our community, our people were very motivated and mobilized, but as the war continues and nobody knows how long it may last, the efforts have weakened. One of the most difficult problems has been to retain the original active support, as well as community sensitivity to what is going on in Ukraine. The situation hasn't changed to the positive, even probably to the negative side. The Ukrainian people have gradually developed emotional weariness, characterized by protracted uncertainty, fear, and dwindling feeling of hope that the world will end soon. This emotional fatigue affects not only refugees or people living in the territory of Ukraine. Our university people and the larger Lithuanian community have also begun to develop compassion, fatigue, and psychological exhaustion as a result of the continuous struggle. Simultaneously, institutional national support for Ukrainians is declining, eroding community enthusiasm and resilience. Not getting used to war as a new normal, securing long-term care and support has become a challenge for us. Though we do different activities, as for example, blanket donation on a periodical basis. And initial humanitarian aid, support, solidarity, and activism have given way to disengagement and competing priorities. Like people became more self-centered, coming back to their normal life and taking care of their own immediate environment. But fundamental elements of good practice, of insights from our experience, we can recommend to others. In a crisis, universities actually have to act on their third mission, demonstrate responsible and distributed leadership, and actually react to the needs of the society, the community which is surrounding the university, and individual vulnerable people. Engaging and leading the community, including and consulting with different stakeholders, students, staff, alumni, state agencies, corporations, NGOs, media, local community, and individual civil society members. So universities can act as catalysts and take a leading position in mobilizing support to crisis-affected people. And we have also learned that universities can use their institutional autonomy to act bravely and unconventionally by leveraging the institutional assets accumulated over time, like humanistic tradition and approach, internal and external stakeholders, research and study-based knowledge, local, national, international networks and partnerships, as well as physical infrastructure like dormitories, classrooms, sport halls. Humanistic values and action-oriented attitudes actually are critical in crisis situations. It can help organize and motivate people from different social groups to participate in meaningful societal endeavors. And actually, people buy in wholeheartedly when they see meaning of helping other people. And having a task force able to act and learn simultaneously. Find and consult with experts in community is also critical. Resourcing, ability to see opportunities for collaborations and funding are also important to implement the third mission. It is also important to delegate some functions, like, for example, fundraising, resourcing to certain individual and teams with specific skills. And during this process, we have also learned that universities around the world are large institutions with connections both nationally and internationally. And they are powerful organizations that can help our society. Universities also, as lifelong learning institutions, must engage with and seek assistance from external stakeholders, as well as be open to grow, to learn, to adapt, and act as a community of practice, mobilizing internal and external stakeholders. Also, universities and individuals can show sensitivity, empathy, and knowledge of diversity, as well as ability to deal with intercultural and intergenerational disparities. It is also critical to consider the language, features, and narratives that the institution and the society create through their acts and support for those affected by the crisis situation. So what conclusions can we make from all our project? Our university real-world experience enhanced the responsive and responsible university, not even practical, but theoretical framework by exposing how its theoretical pillars interact under pressure and where some dimensions develop. The rapid cooperation and co-creation with the municipal, medical, civic society actors emphasized the importance of developing theoretical foundations of rapid response governments, shared leadership, like living laboratory approach, how to integrate feedbacks in institutionalize co-creation strategies for responsive and responsible university. Sustainability-driven third mission activities also need to be integrated into long-term support planning. Our university sharing its physical infrastructure with refugee children and teenagers suggests that repurposing of infrastructure should also be like a part of our strategies. and to expand the understanding of how universities can dynamically reconfigure both human and material assets to promote security, social justice, and community well-being in crisis situations. The character of our university, its organizational culture has also undergone a notable transformation in response to the war in Ukraine. And it reflects in our organizational structures, institutional culture, academic priorities. We have become more agile and outward facing. We have demonstrated the institutional flexibility in relocating resources, forming rapid partnerships, aligning operational procedures with national humanitarian efforts. And culturally, we have shifted from primarily inward and academical tradition institution, inward-oriented and academic tradition-oriented institution to a more like socially engaged, inclusive, and our mission-driven organization. We have developed new research projects with Ukrainian institutions, enhanced our university internationalization and social impact. Lifelong learning, like refugee integration, intercultural competencies have become more prominent and strengthened our self-confidence and role in the society as a responsive and entrepreneurial university. And during the crisis related to the war in Ukraine, our prior focus on social innovation, sustainability, social justice, lifelong learning became really instrumental, and they were activated during this war situation. Also, a significant institutional change evolved, like deepening collaborations with Ukrainian universities, Ukrainian people, through joint study programs, research initiatives, participation in different consortiums. And it helped to reinforce our third mission and societal impact in Lithuania and beyond. And the notion of a responsive and responsible university was substantiated by the practical case of a social sciences and humanities university, which is located in a small Baltic Sea country. And thank you very much. Should you have any questions, ideas, insights, I would be more than happy to address. Do you have any comments, insights, or questions?
Hi, Nomeda. It's Mary here from Dublin, in Dhaka. But anyway, so thanks for your wonderful presentation. I was curious just to see at the end of your slides in terms of some of the supports that you provided, and I was just wondering, I suppose a lot of the time we're used to intercultural support, but intergenerational stood out for me. And I'm wondering what kind of intergenerational supports you were able to provide at the university, and how they went for you.
For example, children teenagers who appeared on our campus, they came with grandmas who were, for example, depressed from the war, what they see, and lost the meaning of life. But suddenly there are children who just need to immediately get fed, to have lunch. They started to making food for them. Volunteers donated like materials, and they had to make. So they build the relations between like children and the elderly. The same with the community people. Retired people had more time to support the children. So people from a community would come to teach the Lithuanian language, the retired people. And the majority of people who are like are not employed go to school were the children. So this aspect of intergenerational support facilitated by our university could be an example.
Okay, thank you. And I just had one other question. Now that, 3 years on, I'm wondering, is the level of support that is being provided by the university still at the same high level in terms of, the amount that's provided, and how are you sustaining that kind of financially across the university?
Actually, the humanitarian aid support was immediate. We just we would collect aid and financial resources through those 3 years. But initially, the biggest peak was in the beginning, and the need was the biggest. Now, mostly people collect financial resources and donate to other organizations in Lithuania who buy, for example, cars or food or clothing and support it to Ukraine. Our university has taken different measures, like, for example, including Ukrainian partners in all projects we apply for, writing publications together. If there is like a teaching position, we also open it to Ukrainian refugees. So probably the support has taken different forms. I would say even financial support has taken different forms as compared to the initial outbreak of war.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Can I? All right. Nomeda, thank you. This is Zik from Dhaka. The closest I was to Lithuania was in Estonia, in University of Tartu, when there was an annual conference of European Consortium of Political Researchers. So thank you very much for that very enlightening presentation. I was curious about one thing which Mary actually sort of alluded to. I can see in 2024, probably Lithuania stopped suspended the tuition fee waivers for the Ukrainian students, which used to be in place. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Ukrainian students used to study free of cost in Lithuania. But in 2024, it was suspended. Now, given the presentation in which we actually learned that there is a very strong support from the society, institution, and also civil society in particular, of supporting this cause for their higher education, why do you think the government has taken that decision, or if that has been actually implemented, or how you're making up on that financial side for the tuition fee of the Ukrainian student, which was previously presumably free of cost?
Actually, the financial situation hasn't changed much. There's different funding sources like Erasmus or project-funded, EU-funded projects. Not to duplicate resources from what is Europe investing into Ukraine and what is our national government investing into Ukraine. Just I think it's the same, just the source of funding is different. We do what we can with what sources we find, but also if Ukrainians coming with a project proposal, for example, funded project position like ERC grant or other positions from the European Union, we just provide them a place to carry research in Lithuania or carry PhD studies in Lithuania. So it's like, I think it's just different funding source.
So the students still can study free of cost, Ukrainian refugees?
It depends on the university, on the program.
Okay.
Our national students also we are like quasi-funded university. Some positions are funded by the state. Some positions, study programs are funded by like individual students. So it's the same equal opportunities for like Lithuanian, other nationals, and Ukrainians. So we try to provide equal and even like opportunities for all people to study in Lithuania, not only to Ukrainian. We also have many students from Bangladesh, for example, studying at our universities.
Nomeda, it's David from the Magna Charta Observatory. Thank you very much for getting up so incredibly early in the morning to join us for this session. And thank you for your beautiful presentation. I have just one comment to which you might want to react. There was a line in your conclusion which absolutely leapt out at me. And that is, one of the conclusions was that universities could be constructors of just and safe future societies. And I just thought that was enormously powerful. I can see how you have demonstrated that in the context of this project. I don't know whether you're able to share anything about how your university is taking that notion forward in other ways, maybe with the local authorities, maybe with different stakeholders in Lithuania. You may not be able to say, but if you are, I think it would be helpful to colleagues here in Bangladesh.
I think universities are powerful organizations, and actually we are working with the current societal situation, but as well as the future of our society. So even like a small university as ours, we educate the students who graduate from our university and go to different places of the world, to Ukraine, to Estonia, to Bangladesh, to different parts of the world. And building academic knowledge is a must, but it's also important to build interpersonal relations between students, between alumni, between researchers, between organizations. And it is when people work together, try to understand each other, try to overcome like cultural differences. I think that's the key of just and secure societies. And no matter what ethnic group they belong to. So, and actually our students who leave the country after the education, they become like ambassadors of the university, ambassadors of the state, and for them it's easier to connect. For example, Ukrainians who have studied at our university, probably for them it's easier to connect to Lithuania in the future. Like maybe there will be different positions in government institutions, in business, in NGOs, and for them those social networks that connect to the country, to organizations, to the university partnerships, and let's say short and long-term mobilities they engaged into during their study period, they will make either positive or negative impact. So currently we have to work with the students and the researchers to have like a positive attitude and experience with the universities. So I think it comes down to an individual person, but also expands to organizations and networks.
But I think your points are good. And I think what you bring out in them by implication is that it's the values that you teach them, the way in which you teach them, the example which the university sets, which goes on into their future lives.
That's true. Are there any other questions or insights from the audience?
Nomeda, I think we do not have any more questions for you, but thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and such insightful activities you are doing. And I'm sure, once again, even after this presentation, we can rethink what we can do as an university, and it actually expands our responsibility and makes us more aware regarding our services towards our community. Thank you so much for your presentation. Nomeda wanted to come. We were expecting her to be here with us, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, she couldn't make it here. But we are so glad that you can make it online, and we all thank you for joining today and giving your wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, now we are moving towards our lunch break. So as today is a Friday, and Friday it's a Juma day at Bangladesh. So we today have a longer break for our lunch break. Anybody who wants to call their Juma prayers, we have arranged Juma prayers at our mosque. So anybody wants to avail that service can go there. I guess the lunch will be served at around 1, the same place as yesterday. So who wants to join for lunch, they can go there by now, or you can just relax here for some time, and then we can all go to MPH, Multipurpose Hall, 10th floor in this building. Thank you. I hope we will be returning here at 2:30.